over again about trust and forgiveness, but he didn't have a doubt in his mind that it would be worth it. When the minister turned to him, Brandon clasped Elizabeth's fragile hand and held on tight to quiet an unexpected attack of nerves. "You are the light of my life," he told her. "We have missed so many years, and yet it is as if they never were. What I feel for you today is as strong and as deep as it was on the day I first told you I loved you so long ago. Perhaps those words have even more meaning now that we have known the sorrows of loss, the strife of living, the meaning of forgiveness, and the joy of rediscovery." He raised her hand to his lips and kissed it. "I, Brandon, take thee, Elizabeth, a woman I loved and lost, and have been blessed to find again to be my wedded wife. I promise to cherish thee all the rest of my days." To his surprise, there were tears in just about everyone's eyes when he'd finished. He wanted to whoop with joy himself, but knew he didn't dare. He'd caused the rest of them enough alarm over the past few months with his impetuous courtship of the woman who was now, at long last, his wife. Brandon couldn't hold back a chuckle, though, as he thought of the way he and Elizabeth had shaken things up. By God, they had had a fine time. God willing, there was more to come, for all of them. Chapter 1. It had been an absolute bear of a day, with one last wintry rain to cast a pall over the promise of spring. Exhausted, Brandon Halloran poured himself a stiff drink and sank into his favorite leather easy chair in front of the library fireplace. As he stared into the dancing flames, he tried to empty his mind of all the problems that weren't up to him to solve. Unfortunately, he didn't seem to be having any more luck with that now than he had over the past weeks. He'd spent the whole day worrying anew about whether his son and daughter-in-law were going to patch up their marriage. A few weeks ago, a divorce had seemed all but certain, but after Kevin's most recent heart attack, Brandon had seen for himself how much Lacey still loved his son. He couldn't imagine why the two of them were so darn blind to something that was clear as glass to him. Brandon's hopes had risen when his son left the hospital. Kevin and Lacey had traipsed off to Cape Cod together. Brandon had been reassured that things were finally on the right track for the two of them. Then, just today, he'd found out that Lacey was back in Boston, alone. He'd confronted her earlier tonight, only to have her remind him that he was butting in where he shouldn't. But if he didn't make them see sense, who would? He was family, damn it, to say nothing of being older and wiser. It was nights like this that Brandon missed his wife the most. Grace had been good to him, loving and gentle. Given his mulishness, she'd also had the patience of a saint, and she'd known when to exert that iron will of hers to keep him from making mistakes he'd regret. If he and Grace had lacked a certain passion, well, that wasn't the worst thing in the world. Before she died so suddenly 2 years ago, they'd raised a wonderful son, and seen their grandson grow into a fine young man. Maybe it was good she hadn't seen Kevin's marriage hit this rough patch. Her heart would have ached just as badly as Brandon's did. He and Grace had always been able to talk things through. That was the quality he missed the most. She would have understood this empty feeling in the pit of his stomach better than anyone. She'd always known what trouble he had letting go of anything. Whether it was putting an end to the meddling in his son's life or walking away from the textile company he'd inherited from his father. How did these young people today say it? Get a life. That's what he needed to do. Let go and get a life. There was certainly no denying it was time to let go of the business he'd spent a lifetime building. He was 68 years old. Thank goodness he still had his health. He could carry on at the helm of Halloran Industries another